Hello students, my name is Dr. Alice Mani. I will be imparting lessons on Business Law, course 306. I am the resource person for Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Education. I will be imparting lessons on business law. This is part of the BBA Rural Management course. This course is divided into 4 units. You will have 16 modules covering the syllabus. The 4 modules will be: the first module is an introductory chapter. Second chapter is various acts. And the third is Sale of Goods Act. And the fourth and last chapter is Consumer Protection Act 2019. This unit, that is chapter 2, will be covered in 5 modules. The first module will look at the introduction to government contracts and Article 299. The second module will cover e-contracts or electronic contracts. The third module will cover various provident funds and gratuity. The fourth module will cover Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, or short form is FSSAI. The fifth and last module will cover the Goods and Services Tax, or GST. We will cover one module of the second unit, which is Provident Funds and Gratuity, in this video. So let us go ahead and understand the topic in details. As already mentioned, this lesson is an introduction to Provident Funds and Gratuity and is structured to cover 4 broad areas. First, I will introduce the basic things about Provident Funds Act. Second, we will learn the features of Provident Fund. Third, we will look into the types of Provident Funds. Fourth, we will learn about the Gratuity Act, including features of gratuity. At the end of this lesson, you will get the required information about Provident Fund Act, features of Provident Fund, types of Provident Funds, the Gratuity Act, and basic features of Gratuity Act. What is the Provident Fund Act? I am sure that you are familiar with the term Provident Fund. You have read about it in newspapers, media reports, heard from your parents if they are working and if they are salaried employees, that they are contributing some amount from their salary towards Provident Fund contribution. Thus, this term is familiar to you. So my work is simple now. Similarly, I hope that you are familiar with the term gratuity also. You know that gratuity is the retirement benefits. If you know the income tax provisions, you might have heard that gratuity received is exempted for government employees if received at the time of retirement. For private sector employees also, some tax provisions are available for gratuity received. So in this module, I will tell you about the provisions related to different Provident Funds and Gratuity Act. So let us refresh your information. These 2 informations are related to employment benefits, and it is important to know these benefits for your savings, investments, and income tax benefits in future. So let us start this learning exercise. We will learn in detail about Provident Fund Act 1925 now. Later, this Act was amended as Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. And numerous amendments were made to this Act later. All the important provisions applicable now with regard to Provident Funds will be covered in this module. The Employee Provident Fund, or EPF, is a retirement benefit scheme. This is really helpful for employees in the private sector. We know that government sector employees are entitled to pension, but private sector employees are not entitled to pension. If the employees in the private sector contribute to Provident Fund, they can get income tax benefits, and it will be the compulsory accumulated savings at the time of retirement. Moreover, loan facility is also available in case of emergencies. How does this scheme work? Every month, employer and employee contribute 12% of their salary towards Provident Fund. This payment continues throughout the working life of the employee. The account can be transferred to the new organization if the employee changes the job in between. The corpus fund will really help the employees at the time of retirement or to meet unexpected contingencies. It is important to remember that employee provident fund cannot be closed throughout the working life of the employee. Every employee will be allotted a unique universal account number or UAN by the Employee Provident Fund Organization, or the short form is EPFO. The Employee Provident Fund account is linked with UAN, which is valid throughout the employee's working life. Thus, the Employee Provident Fund can be transferred if the employee changes jobs. The Employee Provident Fund is created by the employer. If the employer has 20 or more employees in his organization, he has to compulsorily create Employee Provident Fund. Now, let us look at the features of Provident Fund. The first feature is that Employees Provident Fund is governed by Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. Latest amendment for this act was in August 2019. The short form for this act is EPF and MP Act 1952. Secondly, Employees Provident Fund is meant for salaried employees both in the private and government sector. There are four types of Provident Funds, namely Statutory Provident Fund or SPF, Recognized Provident Fund or RPF, Unrecognized Provident Fund or URPF, and Public Provident Fund or PPF. The types of Provident Funds will be explained later in this module. The third feature of Provident Fund Act is that Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act was amended in 2014 and 2019. You know that the Basic Act was passed in 1925. As per the changes and latest developments, necessary changes were incorporated in this Act in 2014, 2019 and after COVID-19 outbreak, which I will be covering in a while. Fourthly, the current interest rate for Provident Fund is 8.5% per annum. In some cases, this interest will be taxable or exempted. That I will explain with the types of Provident Funds. Next feature is about salary ceiling. That is the cut-off salary to deduct Provident Fund contributions. Earlier it was rupees 6,500 per month. Now it is rupees 15,000 per month, and there is a proposal to increase this to rupees 21,000 per month. The sixth feature is the nomination facility available to Provident Fund account holders. Nomination is allowed for parents, spouse and children, but it is not allowed for brothers or sisters. Another important feature you should know about Provident Fund is that the account is transferable if the employee changes his job in between. Provident Fund account can be transferred to the new organization. But this account cannot be closed during the working life of the employee. Similarly, the employee is allowed to withdraw the accumulated Provident Fund amount and accumulated interest only if he resigns from the job. Otherwise, he is not allowed to withdraw the amount and accumulated interest. This helps the employee to have some compulsory savings at the time of retirement or for meeting emergencies. Next feature is the amendments made to Provident Fund Act in 2021 Union Budget. The interest earned from Provident Fund above rupees 2.5 lakhs will be taxable from this assessment year. Many new initiatives were made to the Employees Provident Fund Act after the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2019. The objective of Central Labour Ministry is to provide enhanced social security to the workers without any additional cost to the employer. We know that employer and employee contribute 12% of their basic salary towards Provident Fund. From this contribution, 0.5% will go for administrative expenses and also to employees' deposit linked insurance scheme. To help thousands of people amid the second wave of coronavirus pandemic, the Employees Provident Fund Organization or EPFO has recently increased the maximum assurance benefit under the Employees Deposit Linked Insurance or EDLI scheme to Rs 7 lakh. The Employees Deposit Linked Insurance cover is provided to all subscribers of Employees Provident Fund scheme. A nominee gets a lump sum payment of up to Rs 7 lakh in the event of death due to natural causes, illness or accident. All organizations covered under Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 get enrolled for Employees Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme automatically. Thus, they are eligible to get a compensation of Rs 7 lakh. The retirement body of central government has also notified that minimum death insurance cover under Employee Provident Fund is increased to Rs 2.5 lakh and the maximum limit to Rs 7 lakh from the earlier limits of Rs 2 lakh and Rs 6 lakh respectively. The insurance cover depends on the salary drawn in the last 12 months of the employment before the death of the employee. The employer and the central government contribute to the employees' deposit linked insurance scheme. The advantage is that employees are getting the insurance cover without contributing to the employee deposit linked insurance scheme to get the benefits. Moreover, the insurance claim amount under this scheme is 30 times the average monthly salary in the past 12 months, subject to a maximum limit of 7 lakh. Another important feature of this scheme we have to highlight is that all death claims will be settled within 7 working days after the death claim is submitted. Atmanirbhar Bharat Rojar Yojana, popularly known as ABRY, was announced by our Honorable Prime Minister on 12 November 2020. The objective was to boost the economy, increase the employment generation in post-COVID recovery phase, and to incentivize creation of new employment along with social security benefits and restoration of loss of employment during COVID-19 pandemic. 3 features are worth noting about this scheme. As the first feature, this scheme is being implemented through the Employees Provident Fund Organization or EPFO. This will reduce the financial burden of the employers of various sectors and industries and encourages them to hire more workers. This is a great benefit for those who are seeking job or lost jobs due to COVID-19. As the second feature under ABRY, Government of India is crediting for a period of 2 years both the employees and employers' share to the Provident Fund, and this benefit will be available depending on employment strength of the Employees Provident Fund registered establishments. Thus, all the existing and new employees who are earning wages less than Rs 15,000 per month will get the benefits without their contribution to Provident Fund. Approximately 71.8 lakh employees are likely to get benefited with this scheme. The beneficiaries registered up to 31st March 2022 will continue to receive the benefits for 2 years from the date of registration under the scheme. This is a great relief for workers earning wages up to rupees 15,000 or less. The next feature you have to remember is that employees got an option to be out of Provident Fund deduction, even if the salary of the employee is rupees 15,000 per month. This is the salary ceiling for Provident Fund contribution. You know that already. Then the employer also will not contribute towards the employee's Provident Fund. Thus, the features of Provident Funds and the special privileges announced by the central government are a blessing in disguise for the salaried employees. We have seen in the features of Provident Fund that it is not allowed to close the Provident Fund account while in service. But loan facility is allowed from the Provident Fund for the following purposes. That is, for the marriage of the children, for meeting educational expenses of children, for the treatment of critical illness like cancer, COVID-19, Parkinson's disease, or purchase, construction, or renovation of house property and repayment of housing loans. The added advantage is that there is no need to pay any interest for loans from the Provident Funds, unlike other loans. Now, let us understand the features of different types of Provident Funds. There are 4 types of Provident Funds, namely Statutory Provident Fund or SPF, Recognized Provident Fund or RPF, Unrecognized Provident Fund or URPF, and Public Provident Fund or PPF. Let us explain the features of all types of Provident Funds in details. Statutory Provident Fund or SPF is the oldest type of Provident Fund. The objective of setting up this fund is to promote saving habits among government employees. SPF is governed by EPF and MP Act 1952. That is Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. This fund is maintained by government and semi-government departments like railways, RBI, central and state universities, local bodies, insurance companies, etc. Another important feature of SPF is that employer's contribution, interest credited, and transferred balance is exempted from tax. Transferred balance is the amount transferred from unrecognized Provident Fund to Statutory Provident Fund when it gets the approval of Commissioner of Income Tax. Added attraction is employees' contribution is eligible for ATC deduction. That is the major tax saving scheme for most of the salaried employees. Now, let us look at the features of Recognized Provident Fund or RPF. This Provident Fund is recognized by the Commissioner of Income Tax. Thus the name RPF. This is meant for employees in the private sector. The features of Recognized Provident Fund are different from Statutory Provident Fund. In the case of RPF or Recognized Provident Fund, employer's contribution above 12% of employee's salary is taxable. Similarly, interest credited in excess of 9.5% is taxable. But the common features of statutory and recognized provident funds are employee's contribution is eligible for ATC deduction and transferred balance is not taxable. If the employee leaves the job on his own before completing 5 years of service, then the transferred balance is taxable in both the cases. Let us learn the features of unrecognized provident fund or URPF. This provident fund is meant for employees in the private sector. If the organization has 20 or more members, the employer will start the provident fund called unrecognized provident fund until recognized by the Commissioner of Income Tax. When it is recognized, it becomes recognized provident fund. For unrecognized provident fund contributions, tax benefits are not available for the employer's contribution, employee's contribution, and interest credited to the provident fund account and also to the transferred balance. The last type of Provident Fund is Public Provident Fund or PPF. The other three Provident Funds are meant for salaried employees, but Public Provident Fund is for self-employed employees. Public Provident Fund was started on July 1st, 1968. The objectives of starting Public Provident Fund were to help self-employed people to get income tax benefits and to inculcate saving habits among them. The PPF account can be opened with authorized banks. Annual subscriptions can be from Rs 500 to Rs 1,50,000. Interest credited to this account is fully exempted from tax. Employees' contribution is eligible for ATC deduction. Public Provident Fund has a lock-in period of 15 years, but partial withdrawal and loan facility is available after 7 years. Maturity amount is exempted from tax. Another important feature of PPF is balance available in PPF is not liable for any court attachment. This feature is not there for any other saving schemes. Now, let us look at the last topic of this module, that is Gratuity Act. Gratuity is a component of the salary paid to the employee in return for his or her services to the organization. If an employee has completed minimum 5 or more years of service in an organization, he is entitled to get gratuity. Gratuity in India is governed by Gratuity Act 1972. If an organization has 10 or more employees, then they are entitled to get gratuity. Gratuity rule is applicable to both government and private sector employees. Gratuity will be paid either at the time of retirement or at the time of voluntary retirement or at the time of resignation. In case of death of employee, it will be paid to the legal heirs and is completely exempted from tax. The statutory limit for computation of gratuity for income tax purpose is 20 lakhs. For government employees, if gratuity is received at the time of retirement, it is completely exempted from tax. For private sector employees, if gratuity is received at the time of retirement, it will be partially taxable. But if it is received while in service, it will be fully taxable for both government and private sector employees. We have learned that Provident Fund is transferable if you change jobs in between. But gratuity is not transferable. Our learning wouldn't be complete if we don't assess what we have learned. So here is an activity for you. Make a flow chart of the computation of the tax liability for the different types of Provident Funds and Gratuity Act. Now that we have reached at the end of the lesson, I hope that you have learned the meaning, importance and essential features of Provident Funds, types of Provident Funds, Gratuity Act and features of gratuity. Earlier we have covered government contracts and Article 299 and electronic contracts from this chapter. Hope you got a good insight on the topics discussed in this module. So we are covering 3 topics in this chapter. Until we meet again, bye. Thank you.